Your response to Senator Hawley was, I was just representing my clients. Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Delaney, you represented your clients very poorly. Because as a lawyer, if your client is a school and they've decided their strategy is to out the girl that was sexually assaulted while in their care and custody, that school is doing a crappy job, and the lawyer who goes in and says, sir, to do it, is doing a lousy job representing his client. The focus of this discussion began when a 15-year-old freshman was sexually assaulted by a senior as part of a campus custom known as Senior Salute, a game where upperclassmen competed to have sex with younger students. In 2015, the culprit was acquitted of felony rape, but found guilty of misdemeanor sexual assault and endangering the welfare of a child. You have repeatedly said you were just an advocate. You were just representing the school, where the school was St. Paul's, one of the most prestigious boarding schools in America. And yet, in your representation of St. Paul's, it was St. Paul's that was the victim. You portrayed the school that a sitting U.S. Senator, indeed a member of this committee, attended. Former Secretary of State John Kerry attended. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller attended. A member of the Kennedy family and 3 Vanderbilts have attended. And in your view, that school was the victim, not the 15-year-old girl who was sexually assaulted. Your response to Senator Hawley was, I was just representing my clients. Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Delaney, you represented your clients very poorly. Because as a lawyer, if your client is a school and they've decided their strategy is to out the girl that was sexually assaulted while in their care and custody, that school is doing a crappy job, and the lawyer who goes in and says, sir, to do it, is doing a lousy job representing his client. Now, just a moment ago, you answered questions from Senator Corner. I actually wrote down a couple of things. Earlier in the day, you acknowledged very kindly that the Prout family, I'm quoting you, the Prout family had a strong interest in anonymity. And then just a moment ago, you answered Senator Corner, I wrote it down again, the school did not file a motion to remove anonymity. Mr. Delaney, that testimony is false. I want to read from the motion you filed that is right here. This is on page 2. The school recognizes that JD has an interest in protecting her anonymity. Now notice you told this committee the Prout family had a strong interest. Oddly enough, the word strong was not in your pleading. You graciously conceded they have an interest. Okay? However, in balancing that interest against the prejudice to the school and the public interest in disclosure, the defense measures should be taken to mitigate the prejudice to the school, the victim, elite private boarding school. The school shall be entitled to identify plaintiffs and JD during discovery. Plaintiffs and JD should not be allowed to proceed under pseudonyms at the trial of the matter. You asked the court, strip her anonymity. And you just told Senator Cornyn, I didn't ask the court to strip her anonymity. Why did you give a false answer to Senator Cornyn?
Senator Cruz, thank you for the question. I did not in any way intend to provide any misleading answers. The section of the brief that you're referencing involves the use of a pseudonym at trial as opposed to at pretrial phases of the case. And I'm not aware of...
And so your view is it's common sense, that's the word you used, that a teenager, the victim of sexual assault, should be stripped of a pseudonym. That's just a common sense step.
No, I'm saying that First Circuit precedent treats the use of fictitious names before a jury at a trial quite differently than it does at pretrial phases.
So Mr. and Mrs. Prout are here today. Thank you for coming. You and your daughter have been victimized now 3 times. First, on that horrific night. Secondly, when Mr. Delaney, representing the school, went into court and tried to strip your daughter's anonymity, tried to out her against her wishes. And third, when the Biden administration chose to reward him by nominating him to the Court of Appeals. I would encourage everyone to read the letter that Chessie Proud has filed. And Mr. Delaney, there is a reason why virtually every Democrat has skipped this hearing. They're embarrassed about this nomination. I want to read one paragraph from this letter and ask you a final question. From Chessie Proud. If Michael Delaney is confirmed, if an attorney who has brazenly intimidated a minor victim of sexual assault is given the distinct privilege to serve as a judge for the United States Court of Appeals, you are telling victims and survivors that you not only approve of victim intimidation tactics, you reward their enactors with one of the highest legal appointments in the state of Massachusetts. She goes on to say she made this point to the Biden Justice Department. Mr. Delaney, if this committee votes to confirm you, what message does that tell every other victim of sexual assault, child victim of sexual assault, if seeking to out them publicly gets rewarded with a judicial nomination?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I have spent nearly 30 years in my legal career, half of that in public service. I have tried through my work as Attorney General and as a frontline prosecutor to represent the interests of victims in all that I did. I would ask this committee to consider the totality of my record over nearly 30 years as it reviews my qualifications.